For today's lesson, we are going to start at the beginning of what I believe is the most important thing, and that is ergonomics. Being comfortable at your drum kit, avoiding injury, having stamina, playing with power, being comfortable, and most important, avoiding injury. As a 55-year-old drummer playing in a brutal metal band where speeds are, even past 180 BPMs, but, not too much faster than that. And believe it or not, I'm okay. I don't wake up in pain the next day, or even when I'm done playing, even after the adrenaline rush, I'm still not in pain. I'm okay. And that's mainly because I'm mindful of how I play, and I've set my drums up so that I can always be comfortable. So today we're going to start at the most important part of the drum set, which I believe is, and that is the mighty throne. As you can see, I have a Tama first chair, which is a sort of a wider chair. It's more comfortable for me, but the most important thing is having a throne that is stable. If it wobbles, you are going to pay for it in time. I learned this lesson not too long ago. I was at another kit, and the seat was wobbly. I only played a couple times a week, but over time I started to get the lower back pain, and essentially causing a herniated disc. So you don't want a wobbly chair. You want a very firm, stable chair. Don't scrimp on it. I got, again, the wobbly one was like a $50 PDP, and it doesn't matter the brand. I'm not bashing PDP, but if there's one place where you should be very careful about how you invest, it's the chair. Now, if you're looking at how I'm sitting on my chair, the most important thing is to have your butt where it's pretty much at the end of the throne. The next part is the angle of your legs. If you are sitting too low, your knees are going to be higher than your hip. When your knees are higher than your hip, you will develop lower back pains. No question about it. It will happen over time. If you're sitting too high, like this, which means you're either going to lean into your drums. Again, this is an unnatural pose, or it's an unnatural motion, and you're going to feel pain. Or you might even be leaning back too much. And again, that's not a comfortable position. You will cause pain. What I do is I find the comfortable spot where my legs are a bit beyond 45 degrees. As you can see, I'm sitting slightly higher, and the reason for that is to get more power, and when I'm playing really fast, to go lower on my pedals and be comfortable as I'm leaning in. Because sometimes you lean in when you're playing really fast. It's just a natural impetus. So anyway, these are my angles of my legs. My posture is firm in that I am having my spine straight, or a slight angle to my spine. So my chest is out a little bit. And to me, this is a comfortable, and when I'm playing, it feels like I'm putting out more power when I'm playing, because I'm breathing better. I'm in a more comfortable position. Now, the next part is the placement of your drums. Let's start with the basics. And this I got from Dave Weckel's Evolution series on ergonomics, where he said to basically set up your drums so it's like you're driving your car. And if you were setting up your car so that you could drive for miles and miles comfortably, apply the same rule with your drum set. So you can see my snare drum right now is not too low, but it's not too high. It's comfortable where I can deliver a pretty powerful stroke and hit a rim shot almost flat without hitting my leg. If it was too high, if my snare drum was too high, I believe that in time I would either be missing on the rim shots, or I'd be putting a lot of strain on my elbow. I'm trying to make the stroke as natural as possible. So that's why I've found that at this height, this is comfortable for me. And you should do the same. Find your comfortable spot. But the key is that your arm isn't going too low and it isn't going too high. It's somewhere in between, just somewhere comfortable. And the drum shouldn't be too far from you, but it shouldn't be too close either. Because you need a lot of room as you're playing to, one, not be too sloppy, and two, that you don't have to think about where your snare drum is. Like if I close my eyes right now, I'm always going to hit dead center. And I just did, and guess what? I hit dead center. Next is your hi-hats and ride. These are the things you're probably going to play the most in timekeeping, maintaining the pocket, keeping a steady groove, whatever. For the hi-hats, if you're an open-handed player, height really, doesn't matter, whatever makes you comfortable. I mean, I've seen guys like Simon Phillips, they play pretty low. I'm right-handed and I do cross over, so I want enough room where when I'm playing the snare that there isn't too much interruption, or even if I was playing and I was playing something fast with my right hand, that my left hand won't interrupt. So you got to find the balance within the height of the hi-hat in your snare drum for that. But the key is, when I'm playing my snare, going back to what I was talking about, being comfortable, my elbow isn't moving far from my body and my arm isn't reaching out. It's in a very comfortable spot. Same with the way I'm playing my hi-hat with my right hand. Now moving to the ride, and this is even more important. Notice my stick is in the middle of the bow of the ride. And if you can see, my elbow hasn't left my body at all. It's perfectly in line with my body, with my stick. In fact, I can put my stick right into the rest of my arm. The reason for this is, when you're playing, you really don't want to reach outwardly. When your arm is reaching, like if your ride is too far this way, and you keep playing like this is an unnatural movement. So if you keep playing this way, this will result in a repetition injury. I pulled my arm back, and I'm playing on my ride like this, and I'm completely comfortable. And then from the side, because you can't see, my arm never leaves my body. I haven't moved my arm, I'm putting it back on the ride. You can see I'm pretty comfortable. Now, the bell, I mean, we don't hit the bell all the time, but even me reaching my bell right now, my elbow has moved maybe a few inches from my body, but my arm is still parallel with my body. And that's the most important thing. That keeps me comfortable. The next thing is crashes. Now, a lot of people I've seen, they'll have crashes out in front of them, maybe too high, sometimes too low, or pointed outward. Actually, too low is probably not too bad. But if they're too high, you got a problem there. If you're hitting something in front of you that's too high, after a while, if you're riding on that crash, again, this is an unnatural movement, you're going to have shoulder pain. I've paid the price for this. I used to have a crash right in front of me. I used to ride on it all the time, very much like Neil Peart did. And I had shoulder injuries. Luckily, my sports chiropractor fixed it for me. But the first thing I did to stop the problem was look at my movements, and that was the problem. This repetitive movement is what caused my shoulder injuries. So the crash, I moved just slightly to my right. So again, going back to what I was talking about with the ride, my elbow doesn't leave my side, my arm is comfortable, and you can see my stick is right at the edge of the crash symbol, halfway to the bell. So I could ride on this crash all day, not feel any pain, for that reason, that I am not reaching. Notice my china. This is my primary china. It's basically in line with my ride on an angle. So again, my elbow is not leaving my body. I'm able to hit the edge, and I'm halfway to the actual center of the china, and I'm not having any problems with comfort here or being able to reach it, so I could ride on this all the time. Same thing with my 14-inch china. Even though it's a little bit higher, I'm really not reaching that much to get to it. I don't use it as much as I use this one. So that's not too big of a deal. On my left side, this crash cymbal, if I'm reaching with my left hand, you can see that my stick is hitting the edge and is about halfway to the center. No problems there. Even if I was reaching across to this crash cymbal, my elbow isn't too far away from my body to reach it. And then finally, I have a second hi-hat, and the reason I use the second hi-hat is for keeping time or maintaining meter. I learned this pretty much from Thomas Hocke from Meshuggah. He basically uses his left foot as the guide for the band. That's always in 4. I've learned to use that as well. I mean, a lot of people, especially if you're a jazzer, it's used as an instrument. You know, it's completely different. But I'm using it as a timekeeper, and also to stop myself from crossing over a lot. So I could be doing patterns like this. And so on and so on. Or just keeping it straight in unison. For me, it helps me lock in everything else or to keep things in good meter. In fact, a lot of times I'll just be keeping it in eighth notes. It's a guide for me. But it's a fun way to play because now you can cross over your hands. You can do all kinds of funky stuff. I mean, that's something for another lesson, but the main reason I do it is for ergonomics, so that I don't have to cross over so much, because this also could cause fatigue in your shoulder, and also because again, I play in a metal band, so it's double bass all the time. So I need a hi-hat on my right so that I can free up or always keep this open. And placement of the hi-hat, again, I follow the same rules that I do with the ride cymbal, so that my elbow is not leaving my body, my arm is parallel with my body, I'm comfortable, I don't have to reach up, I don't have to reach too low, it's at the perfect spot. Now the last thing we're going to talk about is toms. With toms, going back to Dave Weckel's lessons on ergonomics from the Evolution series, your drums really shouldn't be too up or too low. I mean, they should be where you can just comfortably hit flat. So if I'm following the stroke of my left hand to hit my first tom, and I'm hitting the drum flat, I'm pretty comfortable doing it. My elbow is not too far from my body. Same thing with my second tom in front of me. With my right arm, elbow's not too far. I'm comfortable hitting it. I'm not denting it, you know. It's not too, like my toms aren't too angled and they're not too flat. They're just comfortable enough where when I bring the stick down, you can see that I'm hitting the center and the stick is almost at a rim shot. Same thing with floor tom. If your floor tom's too high, your arm is going to be like this, sort of unnatural. Again, you're going to start causing shoulder injury. So I keep mine pretty much in line with my snare. And because I'm a right hand person playing, match grip, when I hit the floor tom, as you can see, I'm hitting center and the stick is almost hitting the rim, just like I explained with the other toms. That's pretty much it with ergonomics. I hope this was informative for you, and I hope to find you on other videos of mine, and please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.